Welcome, everyone. Yokoso. My name is John Lin, and I'm a professor of Atmospheric Sciences here at the University of Utah and the Associate Director of the Wilkes Center for Climate Science and Policy. First of all, I would like to thank the S.J. Quinney College of Law and the Salt Lake City Department of Economic Development for co-hosting this event with the Wilkes Center. Tonight, we are gathered here to talk about the defining challenge of the 21st century, climate change, but also the role of cities in providing solutions to this grand challenge. And I'm thrilled that we are here with two distinguished guests. As someone who grew up in Japan, I'm thrilled to welcome Mayor Yoshinao Gaun from our sister city, Matsumoto, Japan. Sister city, of course, is Salt Lake City, the beautiful place where I now call home. Okay, and of course, I'm delighted to welcome our wonderful mayor, Mayor Mendenhall, in representing Salt Lake City. Okay, now, before I get started, I need to remember to pass on the message from our friends from Matsumoto that they brought some really nice gifts that are laid out in the table out there. So grab one before they're gone. Okay. To kick off the discussion, I want to invite the two mayors to come up one by one to first provide some short introduction and touch upon climate impacts each city is facing, okay, as well as the measures each city is taking to tackle climate change. So to start off, please join me in welcoming Mayor Gaun of Matsumoto.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mayor Yoshinao Gaun. 今日は松本市とソルトレイクシティの姉妹都市提携65周年、その記念にこのようなディスカッションができることを大変嬉しく思います。
Well, I'm grateful to have this opportunity to have this discussion on the 65th anniversary of the being sister cities with Salt Lake City.
こちらの写真をご覧ください。
Please look at these pictures we have prepared.
先ほどからメリー市長とも話していましたが、非常に似ている風景じゃないでしょうか。
We were talking with Mayor Mendenhall earlier today. Don't the two cities look similar?
松本市の写真は4月頃桜が咲いて、そしてまだ日本アルプスには雪が残っています。
The Matsumoto City picture was taken early April, so the cherry blossoms were a little past, but there you can see some of the snow still maybe in the Alps Mountains.
Change. Excuse me. こちら、まず松本市のことについてお話しさせていただきます。
First, I would like to talk about the Matsumoto City.
日本列島の真ん中にあるのが長野県です。
In the Japanese peninsula, the Nagano prefecture is right in the middle of the country.
その長野県の真ん中にあるのが松本市です。
And Matsumoto City is in the middle of the Nagano prefecture.
この松本市の緑の部分がジャパンアルプスを中心とした標高の高い部分です。
The green part of this picture depicts the mountainous areas, so it is a little bit higher in elevation.
皆さんもご存知の上高地、
You may have heard of Kamikochi.
そして乗鞍高原と 山岳リゾートが広がっています。
and the Norikura Highlands. And these are high elevation resort areas that we have in our city area.
そしてピンクの部分が松本の中心市街地です。
And the pink area is a city residential area.
標高が600メートル。
And the elevation is 600 meters.
松本城をはじめとしてさまざまな観光施設が整っています。
There are many tourist locations, including our Matsumoto Castle.
そして、特徴の一つが非常に日照時間が長いことです。
One of our unique characteristics is that we have a very long sunlight.
また緑のところからが標高1500メートル以上ありますので、そこから川がこの盆地に流れ込んでいます。
And the green area is elevation of 1,500 meters or so, and river and water came down from those higher elevation areas.
ですので、松本は非常に水資源が豊富で、街中には湧水といって湧き水もたくさん飲み水としてございます。
And because of that, Matsumoto City is rich in water resources, and in the city there are areas dedicated for playing in the water that people can use.
それでは気候変動の影響についてご説明します。
And we would like to now talk about the climate change that has affected our city.
赤のグラフは松本市が100年間で、2.1 度気温が上がったことを表しています。
The red graph is showing that in the past 100 years, average temperature has risen 2 Celsius, 2.01 Celsius.
これは日本全体では 1.26 度、そして世界の平均は 0.72 度。世界の3倍の速さで、気温が松本市は上がっています。
The average for all of Japan is 1.26 degrees Celsius change, and the world average is 0.72. So compared to those averages, it shows that Matsumoto City has almost 3 times as much temperature rise in the same period.
ソルトレイクシティの夏も非常に暑いですけれども、この気温の上がり方でいきますと、この松本の気温の上がり方は非常に早い上がり方をしています。
In Salt Lake City, it feels very hot also, but with the rising temperature in Matsumoto City, we feel like we will be very hot as well.
松本市内にはスキー場が一つありますけれども、このスキー場も人工降雪機を使わないと営業ができない状況になっています。
In the Matsumoto City, we also have a ski resort. Because of the rising temperatures, we need to artificially make snow for the ski resort.
リンゴの画像がありますが、リンゴは松本市の特産品です。
There's pictures of apples. Apples is one of the exports that we put out from Matsumoto City.
しかし、この気温の上昇で、このリンゴの農家は、非常に品質の悪いリンゴが増えてしまっています。
However, due to the change in temperature, as the temperature has risen, the quality of the apple crop has gone significantly lower.
真っ赤に熟するリンゴが非常に高温によると下の方の赤くしっかり実らないようなリンゴになってしまっています。
The apples should become these red and very ripe apples when we want to export them. However, because of this change, many of them are not becoming fully ripe.
日本も2050年にカーボンゼロ、カーボンニュートラルの目標を掲げました。
We also have the goal to become a 2050 zero carbon city.
松本市も2050年までにカーボンニュートラルを実現するための条例と計画を作りましたが、まだカーボンニュートラルへの取り組みは始まったばかりです。
We have in the Matsumoto city began our plans and made some really ordinances to make this a reality, but we are still at the beginning of our efforts.
CO2 の削減目標もまだ2013年に比べて 22% の削減にとどまっています。
Comparing with our data from 2013, we have only cut the carbon dioxide emission by 22%.
そこで松本市では3つのチャレンジをしなければならないということで、今取り組みを強化しています。
So we have set 3 challenges for ourselves that we are putting effort into doing right now.
一つは再生可能エネルギーの導入の促進です。
First is to promote the introduction of renewable energy.
2つ目は CO2 の削減をとにかくスピードを上げていくことです。
And the second is accelerate the reduction of greenhouse gases more.
3つ目はそうした取り組みを強力に牽引していく企業、団体を松本市内に育成することです。
And third is to develop corporations, organizations that will help drive the decarbonization.
そうした取り組み、松本市全体では一気に行うことは難しく、あるモデル地域を選んで進めています。
It is hard to implement everything for all of Matsumoto City. So we have chosen one small area to use as a model area to start forming these.
日本政府が26のエリアを選んで、進める取り組み、リーディングプロジェクトに松本市が選ばれました。
The country of Japan chose 26 areas as the model areas to promote our efforts, and Matsumoto City, one area of Matsumoto City was chosen as one of these 26 locations.
先ほど冒頭でもご紹介させていただいた乗鞍高原がそのエリアです。
The Norikura Highlands that I introduced earlier is the area that was chosen.
この乗鞍高原で実現しようとしていることは2030年、これから7年後ですが、2030年までにこのエリアの電力需要はすべてこの地域で生み出した再生可能エネルギーで賄うというものです。
So the goal we have is by 2030, so that is in 7 years, we want to be able to produce all the electricity that is used in this area to be produced in this area by renewable energy.
そしてこの乗鞍高原は日本を代表する中部山岳国立公園の中にあります。
And this Norikura Highlands is actually located within a national park.
この2030年までにカーボンニュートラルを実現して日本の先行モデル、松本の先行モデルになります。
And this area will become the leading model for all of Matsumoto City.
そして合わせてこの山岳リゾートとしてもこれまで以上の 魅力ある山岳リゾートになることを目指しています。
We are also aiming to promote this area to become an even more attractive mountain resort in the future.
まずやろうとする3つのこと、そのうちの1つ目は小水力発電所を作って、そしてこのエリアの電力はすべて、それで賄うということであります。
There are three things that we are aiming to promote currently, and one of the things is to create small hydroelectric generation facilities in this area that will be able to produce the electricity that will be used in this area.
2つ目は乗鞍高原にある観光センターをこれを省エネ設備で、省エネルギーを進める新しい施設に作り変えます。
The second thing is to change the tourism center that is already there in the highlands and changing it to a facility that will be highly energy conservative.
合わせてホテルや旅館といった施設も省エネルギーを進めます。
And we would like to promote energy conservation in all the hotels and inns in the area as well.
3つ目はこのホテルや旅館において今は非常に寒冷地で、化石燃料をたくさん使っていますが、これを木質バイオマス、木の燃料で賄うように変えています。
And the third point that we are trying to promote is currently people are using a lot of carbon matter such as coals, and we'd like to change that to using wood biomass as fuel.
こうした乗鞍高原の取り組みをこれを松本市内全部に広げていきます。
And these three aims that we are working on in the Norikura Highlands, we would like to expand that to the whole city.
小水力発電をさらには太陽光発電まで、広げることで、徹底最大限これを松本市に導入していきます。
For the city, we would like to not only have small hydroelectric generators, but also have solar electric generators, and have that as much as possible used within the city.
そして、再エネの設備も松本市内全域に広げていって、乗鞍高原で2030年、松本市内では2050年にカーボンニュートラルを実現するというのが今の松本市の計画です。
And we would like to have the highlands by 2030 have the carbon zero, and within the whole city, we would like to have that realized by 2050.
松本市の環境気候変動への取り組みはまだソルトレークシティには遅れている面がたくさんあります。
I feel like our efforts in Matsumoto City is behind the efforts that we can see in Salt Lake City.
先に進んでいる各国の取り組みをこれから積極的に取り入れて2050年のゼロカーボンニュートラルの実現を市民とともに目指していきます。
We would like to learn from the other countries and bring those into our city as much as possible so that we can all aim towards carbon zero by 2050.
ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Thank you for listening.
Next, please join me in welcoming Mayor Mendenhall to the podium to talk about Salt Lake City.
Thank you, Mayor Gaun. And thank you to the entire Matsumoto delegation for coming back to Salt Lake City. This is our first and our longest sister city relationship. And as he mentioned, we celebrate 65 years this year of this beautiful, ongoing, generational relationship. Salt Lake City is situated in the area of the United States that will be the hardest hit by climate change, but we're already quite familiar. Declining water quality, wildfires, extreme temperatures, drought, and threats to human, ecological, and economic health. We sit here today in the S.J. Quinney Law School amidst record-breaking temperatures outside this weekend in Utah. Well, gratefully, we're in an air-conditioned space, but too many of our residents are not. The thousands of air conditioners and swamp coolers that are humming right now in our capital city are mostly powered by electricity that is generated from the combustion of fossil fuels. That combustion, combined with tailpipes and larger pollution sources, make not only our air quality here at times the worst in the nation, but it also contributes to our greater demise of global climate change. And so perhaps there couldn't be a better day for us to gather here and discuss what great work Salt Lake City is doing and how we can learn more from our sister city Matsumoto. Because our nation does not have any national climate strategy with specific goals, unlike Japan, who does. Our actions at the local level, are mighty, and we're not alone. But it has to happen at the city level in the United States. We're on track right now, as you can see, and hopefully as you've heard before if you live in Salt Lake City, we're on track to be net 100% renewable energy for every energy user in the city by 2030. Our climate positive plan is also going to get us an 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions for Salt Lake City by 2040. Slide 2, please. Oh, I control this. Our path to renewable energy is joined by 16 other municipalities. We followed state legislation that happened in 2019 for cities in states like ours that prohibit the opportunity of community choice aggregation. For any of you energy nerds out there, that means that a city, a county could go out to bid to the market to say, here's how much energy we need. Private market that produces renewable energy, please show us how much you can bring. And they could cobble together through contracts independent from a large energy producer like Rocky Mountain Power, enough renewable energy to power their needs. That's not allowed in the state of Utah. And so it required us to get legislation, which we did with other municipalities and Rocky Mountain Power as a partner, that outlined the pathway for us to secure 100% renewable energy as a municipality. When we came into office with my administration in 2020, Rocky Mountain Power told us that they would no longer be able to commit to 2030, and the deadline needed to be pushed to 2050. We were able to negotiate that back over the course of about a year and re-secure 2030 We are now on track, and we will be bringing the rate structure for state approval with the Public Service Commission in the coming months. And I'd like to thank Councilmember Dan Dugan, who's in the audience today, who represents Salt Lake City with the other 17 municipalities on the board that's leading this work. The rates are also designed to protect our low-income ratepayers. And this is a critical part that we both have as a standard in the legislation, but also ethically as a city we are absolutely committed to. This will roll out citywide, and you won't have to check a box on your power bill. We're all going there together. Our path to renewable energy is moving even faster for city municipal uses. Libraries, fire stations, police stations, city hall, public utility buildings, and many other properties that we own. We broke ground on an 80 megawatt solar farm just about a year ago, an hour west of here in Tooele County. This 80 megawatt farm will supply almost 100% of our renewable energy, or rather of our energy needs for Salt Lake City municipal use when it is complete. And we anticipate it being complete in 2024, or hopefully early 25 at the latest. We're doing this with 5 other large energy users, Summit County being one of those, Vail Resorts another, and Park City as well. You get the theme that we can do small things by ourselves, but when we find paths that bring many others along, the impact, especially the climate impact, is so much greater. All of the big initiatives that Salt Lake City is doing around energy and climate initiatives are partnered in some way with other cities. We have many other programs. I hope our panel discussion will allow us to get into some of the details of some of them. But we have gone big to big buildings. I'm talking large scale, 10,000 square foot plus size buildings. And we've found ways that we can partner with the developers of those buildings or the owners of existing buildings to increase their financial access to efficiency upgrades or renewable energy transformations. We've grown our public transit service with new bus service routes that serve Salt Lakers on a more frequent basis. We've added more bus stops, actually, instead of puddles next to the sidewalk. And we've added funding now for the second year in a row for 22,000 bus passes to serve all of the public school students, faculty, and staff of Salt Lake City School District. And now with City Council's approval, we've added enough funding for one parent of each of those households to also have a free bus pass. We're helping developers access financing through CPACE, which is a national program that can allow developments that might not otherwise qualify or even have the ability to access funding to create more efficient buildings. We are partnering to make those happen. The new Hyatt Conference Convention Hotel downtown was the largest project yet, and I believe it was the largest in the nation at the time that the financing was secured. We're also transitioning our EV fleet, or rather our city's vehicle fleet, to an EV fleet. Our biggest challenge there, as it is for any city in this country right now, is the production of these vehicles is incredibly in demand and limited, and we would buy vehicles faster if they were available with higher quantities. So we're buying them as they become available. And most recently, our City Council approved a program that will allow any Salt Laker, dependent on their income, to receive some amount of a rebate for air quality impact purchases. A resident could purchase an e-bike and get a rebate from the city. They could purchase a better air purifier for their home or better HVAC pads for their HVAC systems in their apartments or their homes, and then receive a rebate from the city to do so. We're working from the large level to right in the front yards and in homes of our residents. And this is what's required of us, especially without a national climate strategy that's helping guide the way that Japan is and affecting Matsumoto. Thank you for having us here today, and again, my great admiration and gratitude for the delegation of Matsumoto and Mayor Gaun. This is an ongoing relationship, and to any of you who are new to the sister city's relationship with Matsumoto, please become a part of it. And know that these delegation visits come regularly. Before the pandemic, it was an annual experience, and we invite you to be a part of it with us. There are celebrations and ways to participate. So thank you for being here today.
So now I would like to invite the two mayors to come on stage. And we will switch the format now into more of a sort of discussion form. So to kick off, I wanted to focus on an issue that's come up in both presentations, which is renewable energy. I wanted to start with Mayor Gaun about whether he can share more about plans, I think especially for scaling up renewable energy. And I also invite Mayor Mendenhall to share the Salt Lake City experience and potential barriers that the city had to overcome. So, Mayor Gaun, please.
はい、先ほども申し上げましたけども、松本市の再生可能エネルギーの導入は、まだまだ必ずしも進んでおりません。
So, as I mentioned earlier, our plans for renewable energy usage in Matsumoto City is still very much in progress.
なぜ進んでないかといえば、やはり松本市民にまだ気候変動に対する危機感というものがそこまでまだ強くないということも非常に影響しております。
I think one of the big obstacles that we have is that the individual citizens of Matsumoto City do not have the urgency to move the project forward.
ですので、まずはその危機感というものをもっともっと強めていかなきゃいけないというふうに思います。ちょっとスライドを見ていただきましょうか。来週のスライドを。
The thing we have to do is to promote this urgency within our citizens. Please show the slide.
Thank you.
Just 見ていただけないですかね。見ていただきました。こちらは松本市にしかも生息しなくなっている鳥でライチョウと言います。
This is a very unique bird that is only seen in the Matsumoto City area.
日本を代表する長野県を象徴する鳥です。
This bird is very representative of our city as well as our prefecture.
これ真ん中の写真がこれは現在黄色の部分には高い山脈でライチョウが生息している場所です。
The picture in the middle, if you see it, these yellow areas are the areas where these birds have their habitats.
右側は21世紀末の画像で黄色の部分がもう全くなくなってしまいます。
in the right side, this is also showing the habitat of this same bird at the end of 21st century.
このままいくと、この日本からライチョウも消えてしまいます。
And if we continue this trend, then this particular bird, the Japanese rock ptarmigan, will become extinct.
これは非常に松本市民にとってはそうなってはならないという強いメッセージになります。
And for the Matsumoto citizens, this danger of extinction will become a strong message to them.
もう一枚いいでしょうか。こちらは最近の大雨による土砂崩れの映像です。
Recently we had some strong rain, and with that we had this landslide.
松本市をはじめとして今日本では気候変動の一番の影響は大雨、豪雨による被害です。
In not just Matsumoto City, but for all of Japan, one of the major shows of climate change that we are experiencing is having heavy rain and strong rain.
このような土砂崩れが頻繁に起こるようになっていて、そして右側の地図の青い部分、緑色の部分、こうしたところはこれからも非常に大雨の被害が予想される場所です。
And because of that, there's a lot of areas that are experiencing landslides. If you look on the map, the blue and green area is where we are expecting more landslides to occur.
こうしたことを市民に積極的に伝えて、もう化石燃料を使うことはやめていかなきゃいけないんだと。そして再生可能エネルギーを自分たちで作っていくんだと。そういう気持ちを市民に持ってもらうことが何よりも大事です。
By conveying these messages to our citizens, we can promote the feeling of we need to stop using fossil fuel and we need to start using much more renewable energy.
松本市は先ほど見ていただいた地図のように中心市街地はあまり大きくなくて、そしてたくさんの森林を抱えております。
Matsumoto City, as you saw in the earlier picture, the residential region is not very big, but we have much more wooded areas.
たくさんの森林は CO2 を吸収します。
And having much of those forest regions, they will absorb the carbon dioxide that we produce.
したがって、排出量も吸収するものとのプラスマイナスで、かなりこれから我々が達成する目標というのは他のエリアに比べると少ない目標で達成ができると考えています。
Because of that, subtracting how much carbon dioxide we produce by how much is absorbed by the forest, we should be able to have the carbon dioxide emission level down to zero at a much lower rate than other regions of the world.
ですので、先ほど見ていただいた小水力発電というようなものをモデルとしてしっかり作ること、そして、街中においては事業所や住宅においての太陽光パネルの設置を積極的に進めること、そしてそのために行政が補助金を、助成をしっかり出して、設備が設置できるような環境を整えることを急いで進めていきます。
So, for that purpose, we would like to promote the use of and establishment of hydroelectric generator facilities, and to promote businesses and residential houses to set of solar panels so that they can use renewable energy in their areas. For that to happen, I believe that the city and the government need to provide aid and financial aid for them to be able to accomplish these.
Thank you. Challenges and opportunities. This is an opportunity to talk about some of the differences between Matsumoto and Salt Lake City, where motivation is ripe in Salt Lake City. We have this interesting and I think fortunate confluence of acute care about our air quality that has been decades in the making and has risen up out of the fray of necessarily being a fringe topic as it was when I started working on air quality about 15 years ago, to being a very mainstream concern for Utahns and especially those along the Wasatch Front, with the recognition that the climate is going through dramatic and severe changes that must be stopped, and that the actions we take to improve our local air quality are absolutely complementary to the global climate changes that we need to be making at a local level. The challenges have been partially that until the technologies improved so that we could bring the cost of renewable energies down to meet or even beat the cost of fossil fuels, the conversation didn't go very far until the costs of the technology were there. And while you have, in many ways, an abundance of water, we do not, as you saw at the Great Salt Lake earlier today. We do have many other natural resources besides coal, but sun and wind in some cases in the region that are complementary to our renewable energy needs. And since the business case is there, that I believe is why we've been able to bring other cities along with us, with their power provider, Rocky Mountain Power, to make the business case and take it out of the environmentalist conversation and into this is about savings for our residents and direct impacts on our quality of life and health because of cardiovascular and respiratory impacts from the air quality. The challenge is decreasing as technologies improve, but the urgency is increasing as we have, as you've seen with the Great Salt Lake and the drought that has been many years in the making and the unpredictability of our future weather patterns. I think that one of probably the greatest asset we have in advancing renewable energy is our people and the mandate that we feel at the city to expedite these investments.
Thank you. I wanted to now pivot a little bit to a different topic, which is transportation and transit. I was quite intrigued by a slide that Mayor Gaun provided, so I'll just switch to it. And if this works, it's the next one. Yes. Mayor Gaun, can you talk a little bit more about the transportation strategy as well as the AI on-demand transportation system? And Mayor Mendenhall would be really eager to hear your thoughts on these ideas.
日本とアメリカはやっぱり国の大きさが全く違います。
Between Japan and America, I believe the biggest difference is the sheer size.
ローカルの都市で比べても、特に人がたくさん住んでいるところの大きさの非常に大きさが違うな、改めてこっちに、皆さんの住んでいるところを見ながら 実感しました。
Even just comparing the big cities between the two countries, I believe it just feels bigger in the United States.
ですので、車をできるだけ使わない、そうした暮らしは、アメリカよりも日本の方が実現が進むと思っています。
Because of that, I feel like in Japan, it should be much easier for us to have a structure where people do not need to use their personal automobiles.
そこで、この地域の公共交通を充実させる、自家用車からバスの利用にできるだけ振り替えていくということを今、松本市は進めようとしています。
For that, we are trying to up our ability to provide public transportation for our citizens, and so that people can use bus and public transportation instead of their personal vehicles.
右の上の写真はタウンスニーカーという松本のバスです。
The right side, you can see the bus. We call this town sneaker.
小さくて可愛い形のバスです。
It is small and very cute design bus.
できるだけたくさん街中をこのバスが走るようにということを今積極的に進めています。
We are trying to aggressively provide opportunities for these buses to run around the city and be visible.
右下の写真もこれはバスというよりも普通のワンボックスカーの形です。
And in the bottom, this is not like a bus, but it is more like a box van that we are using.
でもこういうワンボックスカーのこれも私たちはバスというふうに位置づけて、もっときめ細かなところに走らせようと進めています。
Even these vans, we are turning them and categorizing them together with the bus and using these in the smaller, hard-to-reach areas of the city.
日本は高齢化が非常に進んでいて、特に地方は高齢化が進んでいますが、バスの停留所まで来れない、そういうお年寄りが利用できるように、できるだけこの小さなバスをお年寄りの近いところまで行くようなバスに今進めています。
In Japan, we are experiencing an influx of senior citizens, and many of the senior citizens are not able to travel to the bus stops that are provided. Because of that, we'd like to provide these smaller vehicles that can go to a much closer stop for these senior citizens to be able to use.
日本ではまだお年寄りがなかなかスマホを使うことが少し抵抗があるんですが、だんだんとそのことが進んできましたので、スマホで予約をして、そして AI でこのいろいろなルートを一番いいルートを走る、そういう AI デマンドバスということで、これからこの松本市内に広げようと考えています。
Many of the senior citizens have a little bit of a stigma towards starting to use a smartphone, but they are starting to be able to use smartphones now. So these vans, they can make an appointment for these vans to come close to their home, and the AI will produce an appropriate route for the van to travel to pick up these senior citizens for their appointments.
小さなバスと、そして自転車をできるだけ シェアサイクルも増やして、この松本市内を走るようにしています。
By providing these small buses and also these share cycles, bicycles for the city, many people will be able to use these forms of transportation.
今回、ソルトレークシティでライブバイクも乗ってみました。
In Salt Lake City, I was able to experience riding the live bike.
車からライブバイクでみんなが使えるようになれば、すごくこのエネルギーの省エネルギーにつながるものだと思っています。
If we could all switch from riding our vehicles to riding these bikes, then we will be able to conserve much more energy.
残念ながら松本はちょっと道路が狭いものですから、その問題をなんとか解決して、ぜひ、エリー市長からもラインバイクの導入の経過もまた教えてもらって、ぜひ車が自家用車があまり走らなくても住みよい街、これを作っていきたいと思っています。
And in Matsumoto City, we do have the challenge of having very narrow streets that makes it hard for some of our plans to be implemented. But Mayor Mendenhall can help inform us about how the light bikes were implemented in Salt Lake City, and we would like to facilitate our use of such forms of transportation in our city as well.
I think you meant scooter. I think he rode a lime scooter last night. Scooter? Like this? Yeah, not a bike. And that's not a technology that you have in Matsumoto yet. So at one of the first exchanges we decided on this morning was that we would share our contact information and some of our process we went through to allow those scooters to operate in Salt Lake City. And if you live in Salt Lake City, you know that was not a straightforward process. It's difficult. So we'll pass our learnings on so you don't suffer the way that we did. But I like Mayor Gaun's sense of adventure, and that he landed late in the day yesterday from a very long flight and jumped on a scooter. And that's the kind of leadership that cities need to solve transportation and other problems. So I love seeing the cute little buses. In Salt Lake, we have giant, noisy buses, usually. We love them. But with our big streets, we only have big buses. And yet, it does prevent buses from going into certain areas of the city. And we have also recently built an on-demand transportation pilot program. And it's available on the west side of Salt Lake City. It's not only for seniors, and it's actually been used twice as much as we funded it for, and the demand is great. So we have, the council just approved an increase in the funding for it. And if you are a Salt Laker and you are on the west side, you live on the west side, or you're just there, you can go through UTA and make a request for this just the same way as you would a Lyft or an Uber, and it costs $2.50. Working on air quality for most of my career, I would say there are three things that influence whether or not someone decides to take any public transportation: cost, convenience, and then culture. And even if you make the price very low or nothing, you still have to make it convenient enough that it's not worth the comfort of getting in your own car. And if you achieve both of those, to some extent, with some people in the community, you still have to overcome what might be opinions and stereotypes about taking public transit and why one does it. I know that when I ride my bike, I told Mayor Gaun this earlier today, you can't not be happy when you ride a bike. Okay, unless you almost get hit by a car and then you're not happy. But it's a great way for me with a very short commute to disconnect and reset before I come home. But it's also good for our air quality. And in a state like ours with 3.3 million people, there are literally millions of driving decisions made every day. And so as we invest in Green Bike, which is our bike share program, we don't allow for corporate bike shares to come in because we invest in Green Bike. Only the corporate scooters come in. We invest in bus and now on-demand transportation. We're trying to affect all three at once. And the culture is changing. It's easier to affect the cost and the convenience in many ways. Even though what we're paying to UTA is over $7 million a year to run buses where we want the buses to go, which is more frequent and in places where Salt Lakers are more apt to use it. But the culture is also shifting. So when I hope to come to Matsumoto someday, and I want to ride on the cute little bus with the senior citizens, okay?
今のエリン首相の話の中で文化が一番大事だっていうのはすごく共感しました。文化が大事だと。
As I listened to Mayor Aaron, I also felt that culture is a very strong part of this.
まだまだ車を手放そうということはいろいろ今までの習慣があるので難しいですし、あとお年寄りも今までの少しアメリカの人の前で言うと笑われちゃうんですけれども、まだまだスマートフォンではなくて、うちにある電話で、予約がしたいとか、そういう文化が松本はまだ日本には残っています。
It's very hard to make people change their habits and let go of their personal vehicles, and especially I feel like in Japan and a lot of the Americans may laugh about this, but senior citizens not only may have a hard time using a smartphone, they really prefer to use their home phone that is attached to their house.
テクノロジーを最大限に活用するためにも文化を習慣をどう変えていくかということを今日本がもう一度アメリカやヨーロッパのテクノロジーに学び、そして早くまた追いつくためにはこの文化習慣このことにしっかりと向き合って取り組んでいかなきゃいけないなと改めて思いました。
Feels like the promotion of technology is very needed to more efficiently use these technologies and promote our plans. And in order to do that, we need to help our citizens to change their culture and their habit.
I know we've gone off script, Dr. Lin, but the young people in our community are the driving force. And we've taken air quality conversations into classrooms. And the kids end up demanding that their parents do things like stop idling their car when they're at a long stop, or helping their parents or grandparents use technology to try out new things. And I wonder how we should collaborate also on the education aspects. We have a representative from the Salt Lake City School Foundation, James Yap, he's here, and we can make connections about the education aspects.
Thank you. I think the previous conversation was right on, because what I hope to end this last segment of the discussion on is ways to cooperate and collaborate moving forward in the spirit of sister cities. I invite both mayors to talk about specific ways the two cities can collaborate on moving forward Yeah, please, either of you.
I'll begin. One opportunity that we could establish again, I think that has happened in the past, is exchange. Not only have we sent students in the past to have an experience, language and cultural experiences, but I think from an academic perspective, Dr. Lin, we should be talking with the center that you run as well, and some of the emerging technologies and even local businesses, such as our friends at Wander Alpine, who are using algae to grow snow skis and snowboards. It's a zero waste technology that they developed and they're building right here in the city. I think these kind of cultural but really business and technology exchanges are something that we should reestablish. And there we could not only grow the economies and the ideas, innovation here, but there's great possibility for us to have collaborative businesses across our countries.
今ビジネスの話ありましたが、先ほどその前に教育の話をされました。この教育の部分は、特にやはり子どもたち、気候変動の問題は先ほどエリッションおっしゃいましたけども、これから50年あるいは70年生きていく子どもたちの方がよりシビアで、深刻な問題として受け止めています。改めてこの子どもたちに対してどうメッセージを伝えていくか、そしてそのメッセージは松本とソルトレイクシティがもっともっと交流の機会の頻度を増やして、そして子どもたちにこの気候変動をはじめとしたメッセージを伝えていくということをぜひ今日の機会を生かしてやっていきたいと思います。
We spoke just now about business and collaboration and having our children help. And I believe in our city as well. The climate change is more heavily received by the children and the youth who will live in these conditions for the next 50, 70 years. So we can continue to work together and convey our message towards the children and youth, and not just as individual cities, but together as Matsumoto City and Salt Lake City collaboratively, and have more frequent interactions between the city in order to collaborate our efforts.
これまでもこの子どもたちの交流をもちろんやってきてますけれども、小学生同士、中学生同士、高校生同士、実際にソルトレイクに実際に松本に来てもらうことも行ってもらうこともこれも大切です。ただどうしてもお金の問題とか時間の問題を考えたときにもっともっとオンラインで、日常的に松本の小学生同士、松本ソルトレイクの小学生、中学生、高校生が日常的に今日の気候変動のような話について、議論する、そして一緒に協力していこう、そういう機会をぜひエリン師匠と作っていければなと思います。
The children to be interacting with each other. So elementary school students from Matsumoto City and Salt Lake City, junior high school students, can be interacting with each other. But because of cost and time, it seems very difficult for actual physical interactions of Salt Lake City students going to Matsumoto City and vice versa. For that purpose, maybe we can promote more online interactions that can be more frequent, maybe on a daily basis even, and our students, elementary school, junior high school students, can be interacting with each other and having discussions similar to our discussion right now, with each other about climate changes.
そしてそういう積み重ねが私たちもビジネスでの協力、そして子どもたちが成長した時にもビジネスでの協力、実際に豊かな経済を、豊かな暮らしを環境の問題にしっかりと向き合いながら作っていくということにつながることが期待できると思います。
By having such interactions build up on each other, you will be able to have more opportunities for business collaborations. But not only that, the students, as they interact with each other, they could collaborate with each other on future businesses, and that could promote rich economy in both cities.
I think we're onto something here. I think this is a good idea to connect the youth, and it's a better carbon neutral decision to put them on Zoom instead of airplanes, but eventually maybe also an exchange. And I think that the greatest challenge around affecting any community to be invested in climate change measures is how daunting climate change is. And the boldness and the courage of youth is critical for us as a world to solve and overcome. And they will be sitting here, as you and I know, very soon, leading our cities and our nations. And at once, I think we also need, as a world, more care and connection to other people. So the relationship of being able to grow friendship and understanding, whether they're both doing the same science experiment to measure temperature change at their school during the same month, or they conduct and share the results of experiments they've tried. They're building friendship. And we want sister cities to keep going. That means we're out of time.
We are close to being out of time. I think in closing, I ask each mayor to spend a few minutes with some closing remarks. Mayor Gaun.
はい、今日は本当に休日の中、大勢の皆さんにお集まりいただきありがとうございました。
Thank you so much for gathering here. It's so nice to have so many people gathered on the weekend.
松本市とソルトレイクシティは冒頭も申し上げたようにすごくこの街の雰囲気が似ているところがたくさんあります。
Between Salt Lake City and Matsumoto City, as I mentioned before, many similarities.
一方ですごく大きくてスケールの大きなアメリカソルトレイクシティ、そして島国で、また松本市は小さいけれども非常にクリーンで細かなことについては精密なそういう特徴があります。
And so Salt Lake City and America have a lot of big scale things, and Japan is very small, an island country. However, being a small city in a small island, I think we have many advantages still, such as being having clean areas and having some sensitive issues that we are able to tackle.
共通していることと、そして、お互いすごく違うこと、この両方を持っているからこそ、松本市とソルトレイクシティはこれからもっともっと交流を深め、友情を深め、子どもたちはその交流のもとに大きなチャレンジをしてもらえるんじゃないかなと思います。
Because of these similarities and big differences that we have between our cities. I think that we can both come together and work together to continue to promote our friendship and cooperative nature and help our youth to tackle these challenges that we face.
今日テーマにしたこの気候変動の問題を一番の松本市とソルトレイクシティの子どもたちが若者たちがこれからの自分たちの未来を考えていくテーマとして今日この日から活発に交流が進んでいることを期待して私の挨拶最後の言葉とさせていただきます。
We are tackling this topic of climate change. We hope that our youth, even from today, may be able to interact and cooperate together between our two cities. And that is my hope as I close my remarks.
Thank you, Mayor Gaun. And I think you said it very well. I'll be brief and saying to all of you Salt Lakers, isn't it wonderful to know that we have almost a familial relationship with the city of Matsumoto, Japan, that goes back over many mayors, many delegations, and it will continue for generations to come, especially if we invest in this relationship. And we will, your capital city will, but we invite you to engage with us as we foster ideas and mostly friendship and relationship with our sister city of Matsumoto. It's a beautiful and a unique thing that we can do this together. And we came together as sister cities in the wake of a terrible time in the world with great intention to do just what we have done. And the terrible threat of climate change, which is even greater, we are well poised with relationships like this to have new ideas and generations built that collaborate in greater ways, which ends up impacting all of the other ways we engage across nations and from human to human. So thank you for your investment in this relationship and friendship, and may it continue for generations to come.
Thank you very much.
Joining and also thanking the many, many people, some of whom are in this room, some of whom are not, in making this a possibility. I'd like to thank all of you for being here to engage in a really important topic. Thank you very much.